One of the players said to me, people want to go work in an NFL. Why would you want to come work in an NWSL? And I said, well, you could say that, but I want to build the future of women's sports. And I want to build the most modern sport league in the world. And we are doing that. I feel like we're living in the future because finally it's all coming together.
I am Raja Rajamannar, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of MasterCard and a best-selling author writing about our industry's future. Marketing as we practice today was founded on theories and principles from more than 6 decades ago, long before the advent of the internet, social media, or artificial intelligence. I have had a front row seat as new technologies, cultural shifts, and an explosion of data have disrupted the ways of traditional marketing. To connect with the savvy consumers of tomorrow, marketing as we know it must take a quantum leap forward. This is quantum marketing. With the glasses, without glasses?
I don't know. We're contemplating.
I sat down with Julie Haddon, the creative marketing expert behind the rising National Women's Soccer League, to discuss how sports marketing is in a league of its own. So, Julie, a very warm welcome to you to this show. And for the benefit of our audience, would you like to give a little bit of a background about yourself and about NWSL?
Certainly. I have been a 20-year marketing executive and commercial executive. Currently, I am the Chief Marketing and Commercial Officer of the NWSL, which is the National Women's Soccer League. And I have an industry background that spans entertainment, sports, and tech, and having the ride of a lifetime working in pro sports.
And you have worked for some of the biggest names across all those industries. Would you just want to briefly mention them?
I worked early on at eBay, DreamWorks Animation. I worked at Zynga. And I helped early on, started a company called The Marketing Farm, and my clients were Twitter and SoFi. And most recently, outside of the NWSL, I did work at another kind of football called the NFL. Now, obviously, it's so rich and diverse in terms of your experiences across different types of organizations. What is it about a sports league? How difficult is it, or how different is it from everything else that you have experienced and managed before? There's nothing you can imagine as fun as working in pro sports. And the reason I say that is when you think about the passion that goes into marketing to avid fans, to new fans that you're trying to become avid fans, it's a job of a lifetime to be able to really promote and market and commercialize what is a moment in time and a movement that's happening with women's sports, but also live entertainment. I mean, it is the most ultimate reality TV of being able to see outcomes that you don't know what's happening, the drama, the rivalry, the intrigue, the intensity, the fun, the joy, and the competition that comes from marketing and creating commercial opportunities in pro sports. So I would say that that's what makes it different, is you're not behind a computer. You're on a pitch, you're on a field, you're in cities, you're talking to fans, you're talking to partners that want to be part of this league, you're talking to broadcasters that want to distribute content so people can watch this league and our athletes and the games and the matchups. So it's really just something that is a very remarkable experience.
You have got a multiplicity of stakeholders. How is it marketing in that kind of an organization compared to, say, an eBay or any of the traditional e-commerce companies or traditional marketing companies? Is there anything unique about this, anything different?
Very much so, because if you recall in the early days of eBay, there were buyers and sellers. That is what made this marketplace, this two-sided marketplace. You had people that wanted something, you had people wanted to sell something. And so you came together through eBay as a platform. And when I think about professional sports and the NWSL, our ecosystem has the players, the fans, the sponsors and the partners that make up this community, the broadcasters, and the owners. And we have this remarkably exciting group of new owners that make up our ecosystem. So we're not just marketing to fans, we're marketing to sponsors and partners and commercial opportunities, and we're using the support of our broadcast partners to get to these fans. And honestly, the fans are part of our marketing army as well.
Dedicated fans are driving the current unprecedented surge in attention and business opportunity in women's sports. Recent studies by World Athletics and Wasserman found that female athletes have 14% larger social media followings and drive twice the amount of engagement on social media than their male counterparts. The NWSL, WNBA, and women's collegiate sports, they all saw record attendance in 2023. And Nielsen Fan Insights reported that 69% of women's World Cup fans find brands more appealing when they sponsor sports. Companies around the globe are taking note. I think it is Orange, which has done one of the best commercials I have seen.
The best.
Right, where they were showing men playing soccer, or football as it is called in Europe, and brilliant shots, extremely complex shots and all that. And then they peel away the layer of AI to actually reveal that what you thought were these brilliant shots by men were actually done by women. So if you really take away the biases that have been intrinsic for so long, there is absolutely no difference between the two. I think somewhere the pivot has begun to happen, and I think NWSL has been one of the pioneers in that space. Why is that pivot happening now? Why is the realization happening now? Can you just dwell a little bit into that changing trend, which I am thrilled about?
It's a great question, and I think, I think about that a lot. To be honest, I look back, and I've been following sports. I grew up in a very rabid Chicago family of sports fans, and sports family. And, even myself, as a kid, I always played Little League. I played baseball with the boys, and it wasn't anything that was ever common. And so I think what's happened now is the distribution and being able to see the content through some of the platforms that you're able to access, whether it's streaming, whether it's social, all different highlight channels that people are able to see as fans. Caitlin Clark became a star.
Yeah, huge.
Long before she stepped foot on a WNBA court. So fans followed her all through her ascent as an Iowa athlete, and ESPN had, I think it was 19 million people watch the finals of the women's Final Four, and that dwarfed the men's.
And that will do it. Iowa survives Connecticut.
It was clearly 5 million more that watched the women. And I think what happened is the athleticism and the talent and the fact that these are baller women that just are outside the lines of just being remarkable athletes, but have not had the representation to be able to see it on the broadcast channels or the social channels. And so I think because the aperture is opening wider and people are able to see and watch this. You've seen other sports like tennis where we've had these legends for years.
Yeah.
But in some of these other sports, it took really, I think, a lot of what, think back on the World Cup in 2019 when the women won back-to-back. They came back, they ascended as stars because 1.2 billion people watched the World Cup women in 2019. A lot of it has to do with it being on the shoulders of media and opening up that aperture because social is making stars. Some of the stars that we have in our league or in the WNBA and other sports, they have millions of followers. And so now you have access to that. But in the beginning, it was very small. So I think that's what's happening is that people are seeing these athletes on the stage that they deserve and finally getting that moment.
For decades, commonly accepted statistics stated that women's sports received about 3 to 5% of overall sports media coverage. But in 2023, women's sports accounted for about 32% of sports media on streaming specifically. While linear broadcast and digital are still lagging behind, numbers are projected to continue to climb. How do you keep the momentum going and growing because there is so much of competition for the attention of consumers, which is rather limited?
Well, the great thing about having the opportunity to market the NWSL is the entertainment unfolds. We don't have to create the entertainment. It's happening. We just have to show people who these players are or who the matchups are, the rivalries. So there's players that get together last week. We called it the, the Battle of the Unbeaten, because it was two teams that had not lost. And we are 13 weeks into the season.
Wow.
So it was the Battle of the Unbeaten. It was Orlando Pride up against the Kansas City Currents. So when you see these rivalries of players coming together, you want to tune in, you want to watch. You know it's unbridled entertainment and it's raw and you don't know the outcome of it. The challenge we have is the storytelling around the players, how you invest in and care about who's going to be showing up in the battle of the unbeaten, the storytelling about the teams and what their heritage or what their culture or what their city stands for. A city like Kansas City has the first ever multi-purpose pitch just for women for sport in the world. It's called CPKC Stadium. So this was going to be this matchup at a dedicated women's sports facility for soccer in a city that also has a very rich history around sport, and with an Orlando pride, and they have players that are international. They have a lot of Brazilian players in Orlando that came over. There was this matchup, so we have to set the stage for the matchup, but the entertainment unfolds right before your eyes.
You know, in fact, one of the important points that all marketers have to bear at the back of their mind or even front of the mind is that consumers are having lesser and lesser interest and engagement with advertising. So in this world where advertising is becoming overly crowded, and for a brand to really cut through the clutter, stand up, stand out, connect with the consumers, tell the story, inspire them, and influence their choice in favor of your brand is getting more and more difficult. How do you see these new kinds of marketing platforms, I would say, where you're curating and creating experiences that consumers truly care about, they're passionate about, is actually doing a far better job of giving productive returns to the marketers compared to the traditional advertising, which I have seen happen time and again?
Well, I could talk for days about the answer to that question. And what I love is the fact that we don't have to market the same way that we used to market. Like what used to be something that worked 10 years ago does not work the same now. Customers, consumers, fans, whatever we call them, our demographic that we're going after in my world is fans, they're not the same. They tune out. What we need to do is find different ways to get them. If it feels like advertising, it just doesn't work. And part of that is because our consumers today, our fans today, our customers today all know that somebody wrote a check to buy my eyeballs and time to get my attention. And so it's such a me generation now. It's what's in it for me? What is it going to engage? It's going to enlighten. It's going to entertain me. And so one of my favorite programs that we did at the NWSL was just when I started, and I've been here almost 2 years. Early on, we had a big game, and we also knew that they had some of these great players coming together. One of the most famous players in our league is Alex Morgan, and she plays for the San Diego Wave. So we invited almost what we kind of call our LCCs, which stand for live content correspondents, onto the pitch, and they shot a lot of behind the scenes. And within moments, they uploaded it instantly. Within 4 minutes of capturing a shot of Alex with her daughter, or a fan crowd sequence when it was sold out. We broke a record at that day for 32,000 people in the stadium. And having this FOMO moment inside the pitch became a lot of marketing that nobody knew was actually marketing because it was really just storytelling. It's about engaging, and it's a lot about pulling you into our experiences instead of pushing something into someone's space.
You're making memories for people. You're giving experiences for people that are truly memorable. And no advertisement typically, most of the advertisements typically cannot give that kind of an impact in consumers' minds and hearts. With the rise in popularity of various sports, including women's soccer, there is a battle as to who will get the streaming rights. And there are streaming wars, literally.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, it's not that dissimilar from what I think any form of entertainment now. It's very on demand. We have 4 broadcast partners. We have linear with CBS and ABC and ESPN on the cable side and linear. But then we also have Scripps Ion. And then we also have Amazon Prime. Yes. So Prime Video. So whether it's streaming, whether it's cable, whether it's linear, we know that fans will find our games. Now, it does make it hard as a marketer, and my team has to spend a lot of time on tune-in marketing. Because in addition to those 4 partners, we also have a direct-to-consumer product called NWSL Plus. And so our job, again, is to build affinity and build passion around the matchups and the rivalries and getting people to know.
The best to do it on any stage.
But I don't think it's that hard because today's consumers are used to having to go find their entertainment and now sports in many different places.
So when you look at multisensory marketing, normally marketers, we only focus on the sense of sight and the sense of sound. What about the other three? And how do you really give them immersive experiences where all their senses are beautifully tapped into?
Anybody who grew up as a sports fan that's watching this will know that we do have that benefit of that sight and the sound and the smell, the tactile componentry of the senses. There's nothing like the fan crowds, the noise. The fans are like another player to our teams and our sport. You need the fans there to build the electric and the energy, and the players love to play with fans, and it's other fans like to be in this shared experience. So the noise of that electric energy is one. The sight, I mean, it's a parade of colors. You see all sorts of face paint. You see people with their shirts off in the middle of February or January. I mean, it is a moment of sight, of spectacle that you'll see with the pageantry that comes inside live sports. A smell, I mean, it could be everything is cut grass after the rain. It could be the hot dogs. It could be the fireworks after smell of what happens with that post-smoke. It's so much environmental that brings you in. There's nothing like live entertainment because you're able to attract all of these different experiential pieces and drive demand and that excitement to make people fall in love with your product.
Brilliant. And I cannot agree with you more because having been fortunate enough to attend some of these sporting events, it is electric. And literally every sense of yours is so activated, and the collective experience is so beautiful.
I mean, it does transport you, doesn't it? I mean, you could remember a moment in sports, you can remember a moment in music, you remember where you were when you hear a song. So to your point, when I hear a certain song, I remember exactly where I was in my life at that time. And it brings me to that because of the way music and entertainment just take you somewhere. And that is not able to really be replicated. And that's what's so fun is we get to work with all these partners that are these magnificent brands that want part of that, and we can come up with experiences together, like what we did with Adobe. We have a creator program with them, and they give us all these tools for fans to make our art and make content for us, and marketing and creatives and trailers and posters and editorial. Like, it's just so much fun to be able to give the fans our property and our IP. And that's a very quantum marketing thing, isn't it? Because we're not controlling it. We're not like saying you can't use our IP. We want to give it to people because the NWSL is their brand. The teams are their brand. It's not a command and control like yesterday when we started in our careers.
Most of the times, marketers are focused on the mainstream, so to speak. And they miss out completely on the opportunity for the not so mainstream audiences and populations. Obviously, your sport is a mass market sport. Clearly, it's across all. But are there any specific demographics that you're focused on?
There's been a very core group, like many brands. You have your core and you have your avids, and you're trying to grow, and that's what we're focused on. And the way we're going to grow is we have a very core, loyal, diehard, avid fan base of women's soccer, but we're also starting to see families, just because soccer is such a growing sport, such a young sport, especially in America.
Yeah.
And with the World Cup coming in 2026, we expect more and more avidity. I mean, it's a sport that has no disruptions. You have a game, I mean, you have a halftime, but we don't have commercial breaks. You just go, it's fast-paced, a lot of access. You don't have to come from any kind of, you don't need a lot of equipment to play. I mean, it just pitches around the U.S. are full, and fans and parents and families and youth. It's growing. And so when I think about who we're going after, it's just more of the sports fan, young millennial Gen Z men and women, and people that also really like the values of what this league stands for, which is diversity. We have very much about inclusivity, very much about representation, and standing for the same values that our athletes stand for. I think that right now what's so exciting is this confluence of diversity and inclusion, but at the same time, representation. So wherever somebody wants to feel a part of, ultimately people want to feel included. They want to feel part of something bigger. And knowing that whether it's NFL or NWSL or, you know, a MasterCard, you have fans that make up all type of the population or customers. And the beauty of what we do at the NWSL is We are Pride 365 days. We have a league that doesn't matter what you stand for, what you look like, what this, that. It's about, do you love the game? Do you love the players? Are you part of this community? And do you want to be a part of what is the most modern, futuristic sports league in the world right now? So I think that it's about more how you show up and rep your team, not about what your beliefs are. We want everybody to feel included, and it's a welcome league, and everybody is.
Where do you see the future of marketing headed?
Oh, wow. You know, I'm probably the worst person to ask. I remember joining animation when it was CGI, and many people said, CGI is not going to become a thing. It's going to be a problem because you can't capture emotion with a computer. I'm like, well, you could say that, but I'm going to go work at DreamWorks, and we made $1 billion franchise with Shrek. Similarly, I went to work at eBay, and a couple of the colleagues of mine said, you're going to go work in a flea market. And I go, well, you could say that, but I'm going to go learn commerce. And it wasn't just e-commerce, it was peer-to-peer commerce, because think about eBay was about buyers and sellers coming together, and it was not powered by a retailer. They were a platform bringing two people, supply and demand. Similarly happened at SoFi early on was, how are we going to beat banks? Well, you could say that, but it's going to be a disruptor. And so when I think about, similarly, when joining NWSL, a couple of my friends said, well, women's sports, you come from the NFL. One of the players, actually, from the NWSL, who I will not share because she'll be mortified, said to me, people want to go work in an NFL. Why would you want to come work in an NWSL? And I said, well, you could say that, but I want to build the future of women's sports. And I want to build the most modern sport league in the world. I feel like we're living in the future because finally the distribution, the social, the athletes, the fans, the sponsors, the media companies, it's all coming together. So what do I think the future will be? More of not following the past, more of saying, let's not just follow what was, let's go build the future and then leave a trail for the next people to follow. Because I believe that we don't have to look back and follow anything. We can create our own rules and then see where that goes.
So, Julie, in fact, you said that you're the worst person to ask this question on where the future is going, but probably you're the best person to watch where you're going next, because you're always gravitating to future, which is absolutely fantastic. Julie, thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you being on the show.
It's awesome to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.